Hi there. Today I'm with a story, Lighthouse Girl. It is one of my favorite stories since my childhood, so I'm reading it to you. Upon a lonely rock off the northeast coast of England, there stands a lighthouse in the midst of deep sea waters. For many years the light from its tower has shone far out upon the sea in a friendly way. Be careful in these waters, there are dangerous rocks about, the friendly light seems to say. A family of 3 once lived in the lighthouse to keep it in good order and to watch the light in the tower. There was the father, Mr. Darling was his name. There was the mother, and there was the daughter, Grace. When the waters were stormy, Mr. Darling would not leave the light alone by day or by night. He knew that he must be on watch so that the lighthouse might do its work well. He was a faithful lighthouse keeper. He taught his daughter to be brave and ready to do her part. It was well that Grace Darling had been taught to be brave, for there were dangers all about her lighthouse home. The sea waters became very angry at times, and they beat against the rock as if they meant to wash it away or dash it to pieces. One night a terrible storm came up. The sea roared, and the waves beat upon the rock with a mighty force. The cold waters of the northern sea leaped into the air. There seemed to be water everywhere. The lighthouse stood silent but firm in the midst of the terrible storm. It seemed to be trying to make the friendly beams of its tower light reach farther than ever across the waters. Mr. Darling, the lighthouse keeper, and his daughter Grace were awake and on the lookout for anyone who might be in trouble. I do hope no ships will try to pass through these waters tonight. Grace and her father must have thought as they heard the roaring sounds all about them. The rocks are dangerous enough in fair weather, but in a storm like this it would go hard with even the best of ships. From time to time the keeper and his daughter looked through the big marine glasses to see if there were any ships in sight. For a long while nothing could be seen but the dark shadowy waters lighted by the rays of the lighthouse tower. Grace Darling was about to leave her father for the night when she gave a cry, for she had caught sight of a ship. Not a strong, sturdy ship ploughing its way through the waves, but a poor wrecked vessel that had broken in two upon one of the big rocks. Grace Darling almost shouted, "A wreck! A wreck!" she cried. She looked through the glasses eagerly. "People are clinging to the ship. They will drown. Father, father, what shall we do?" she cried. "We must save them. We must save them." Mr. Darling was dismayed at the terrible sight and alarmed at the thought of launching a rescue boat at such a time. He knew that he could not row a boat alone upon such a sea, and he hated the thought of allowing his only daughter to risk her life. Grace Darling was not afraid. "I will go with you. You must let me go," she cried. There was no time to lose. Mr. Darling gave his daughter an oar and he himself took one. Upon the raging waters they launched their boat. They forgot about their own danger. So eager were they to rescue the people who would surely be lost if help did not come quickly. After the hardest struggle that Grace Darling or her father had ever known, the little boat reached the spot where the people were clinging to the pieces of the broken vessel. There were 8 men and 1 woman. Even then, Grace Darling and her father did not think of their own danger. They took the woman and 4 of the men first. Then they returned to the wrecked boat a second time for the 4 men who were left. It takes but a short time to tell of it, but it was a terrible task. The little boat almost upset many times, and Mr. Darling and his daughter were panting from the hard work of pushing it through the rough waters. Grace Darling was drenched to the skin and numb with the cold long before she reached the lighthouse the second time. She was faint too, and could scarcely stand when she left the boat. But there was a happy crowd in the lighthouse that night. One of the rescued men told how the lighthouse had helped to keep them from the rocks for a long time, but that the wind and waves had been too strong for the vessel. They told how thankful they were that the lighthouse had been built on that lonely spot, and they all praised the keeper and his brave daughter. Here the story ends. How was the story? It's a story of a brave girl, right? So we also need to be brave sometimes to save other people's lives, right? Be brave. Thank you for listening.